incredible creators, Samir from Colin and Samir and Jason Yeager, who was the European kid and also now launching his new platform.
What's up, everybody?
All right, that sounds great.
What's up, everybody?
So, Samir, let's start.
Am I in the moderator seat? I feel like I am.
Walk
Okay,
this.
let's switch.
Alright.
Yeah.
So that I can see both of you.
Alright.
Alright, so Samir, let's start with you, right? So, it was just a few years ago when you made this video with Colin that says you're quitting being a creator and you're going to go back to your day job so that you have the steady income, and then here we are talking about how to create an empire with less than 1 million followers. Tell us about your journey.
Yeah, I've been creating on YouTube since 2011. It's been a lot of up and down, a lot more down than up. And at that time, Colin and I had been really pursuing the dream of having the Colin and Samir channel for about 6 years, and it really just wasn't working. You know, we were making a lot of different videos and having fun making videos, but not finding much traction. It's hard to stay motivated. But we found ourselves waking up every day being excited about making videos. But we had a serious problem when it came to the business of being a creator, which is that we hadn't exactly identified our target audience, and we hadn't identified the value that we were providing to them. So the one thing I'll say is that with any video that you're putting on the internet, the suggestion is you're asking people to invest time. And similar to any investment, you have to suggest a return that they will get on that investment. And we hadn't done much work in thinking about what that return was that you got when you invested in our videos.
All right, so let's see, how did you get to that answer? I mean, today we are sitting here with Colin and Samir being the rite of passage, with people like Hassan Minaj, Mr. Beast, everyone there in your YouTube channel and in your podcast. How did you find that? How did you get to that point?
That was really just, you know, like, I wish I could tell you there was some master plan going into it, but really it was being authentic members of the community. Like Mr. Beast, for example, you know, we met him just through making videos, and him messaging us saying he liked some videos we made, and we ended up talking and becoming friends. Same with Marquez Brownlee, same with Hassan. Like, the way we've met everyone is just by being active members of the community, creating for a long time, and then.
But let's go back to that place where you identified, like, what value that you're creating for that audience. Like, how did you identify who is the audience that you wanted to target, and what was the value that you were providing to them?
The way we identified that, and I think I would give this advice to everyone in this room who's a creator, is we created for our younger selves. So we asked ourselves, what would we want when we were first starting on YouTube? What did we crave? You know, in 2011, being an Indian kid who started a YouTube channel, being very misunderstood, not knowing exactly what this career was supposed to look like, not knowing how to make money, how people did it. There's no textbook for what we did, so we said, what if we created that through conversation? That's what I would have wanted at that time. It's what I did crave, it's what I did want. I wanted to hear stories, I wanted to understand the roadmaps, I wanted to understand how other people did it. And we created the thing that we wish we had. And I would say that's a great place to start, because then you understand the value of what you're creating, because it's for your younger self.
That's awesome. You know, when my daughter did her middle school application, she wrote about her ambition being a Minecraft YouTuber and having 25 subscribers. That was her ambition. So Jason, let's go to you. Your journey, My European Quid, now the transition to My Tech CEO. Tell us about the journey.
I mean, it started off putting one video out in a hotel room where I did a French character, and I didn't know what to expect, right? Because I'm in this hotel room, I'm like, I want to try this. I'm good at accents, so why don't I just try being like this pretentious, rich French character and doing it from an angle where it looks realistic? And it went viral. But I realized in that moment that I didn't know what I was doing, but I was onto something. And then fast forward to today, we have over 1.2 million followers on that account in the span of about a year. Then I realized now, with this attention, we can leverage this towards doing all sorts of things from a business perspective. Sponsorships, building companies around it, etc. And essentially what I realized with the European Kid is that niche brands, creating niche content, in that case specifically with a European kid, is gonna win over trying to do mainstream things. And we'll get more into that in our talk, but that's a little bit about the starting story.
No, but that's okay. Diggin, did you have a comment there, Samir?
No, I just want to hear the accent.
You want to hear the French accent?
Yeah, of course.
You want me to be
Yes.
French?
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're doing it now. Yeah.
The last NAS summit, I was French. I didn't want to do this summit, but if we have to, I can do it. Or I can also be my pretentious tech CEO character, which is about focusing on talking like this with a very pretentious mood. And I look upon you guys as you being below me. I'm up here, I'm elevated for a reason. You guys are down there.
All
There's a
right.
reason.
Amazing, but
That's great. Thank you for doing that. That's awesome.
And I'm sitting here in this position of being a tech CEO, and so it's fascinating. I'm going to do that. I'm going to like stand up at this
Oh,
point.
you're power dominating me? I will get up here.
All right, let's do this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stand up because I'm pretty short.
You know, and so you said you created that channel, and then sponsorships came. You know, but let's face it. People here, one of the biggest things on creators' mind is monetization. And given the current environment, you're talking about like slowdown in brand deals. How do you make that sustainable? So tell us about that magic. What was your first brand deal?
Let's talk about monetization. So for a while, even before I had started my TikTok journey, I looked at YouTubers as the ones who racked in money. I was like, look at Mr. Beast. He's killing it, right? He must be getting so many sponsorship deals. But I realized I was wrong. Why was I wrong? I was wrong because the truth is that sponsorship deals happen for a reason. In Mr. Beast's case, or any mainstream YouTuber, what are sponsors looking for? They're looking for mainstream audiences where their product is going to be useful. Usually that's a consumer brand. So look at all the sponsorship deals that Mr. Beast has done with Shopify, for example, and tons of other consumer-focused companies. But what did I realize with the European Kid brand? What I realized was when I walked into a subway, a metro, no one knew who I was. But when I walked into a top-tier Soho house, everyone knew who I was. And so I realized, all right, I'm targeting rich people here, and this is directly useful for advertising. So the way I think about monetization is, I don't care if I have 50 million subscribers on YouTube. I care if I have 100,000, and excuse my language, rich-ass people following me who are millionaires, billionaires. Because that audience, that's gonna trump the 50 million subscribers anytime. Now, of course, I'm not only thinking about targeting rich people, but I'm conscious about what brands want. Who do brands want to sell to? If I'm selling a private jet luxury service to someone, I'm gonna want to target the right person, a hedge fund manager, the founder of a public tech CEO company, etc. You guys get the point. It all comes down to who watches you. Where is attention at?
So is the message there for the audience to go find the rich people here and what they want to hear?
Not necessarily, not necessarily. And rich people actually didn't come intentionally. In my case, it was just like, I grew up in an international school. My friend's uncle was the king of Qatar. I got to see what that world was like. Then I went to college and studying, even at places like Stanford. I realized what other these rich kids are about. Also then got into the world of tech. So it's kind of pulling on experience and using that experience to then create better videos. In my case, I know what rich kids are like, so I use that in my videos. And now for the Tech CEO account, I know what Tech CEOs are like. I know what eccentric Tech CEOs are like, and I use that for my content.
All right, Samir, your monetization journey.
Yeah, I think first you have to think about in any economy, there's buyers, sellers, and there's a product. Obviously, the buyers here are advertisers, the sellers are us, the creators. Does anyone have a thought of what the product is that we sell? Anyone want to answer? Attention, right?
All right, stand up.
Yeah, but that is essentially what we're selling is access to our audience. So when you think about it in that context of access to my audience, then similar to what you were saying, you just have to find the right buyers who are looking to access to your audience. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that I think creators make is that they grow an audience that doesn't have any specificity to it. And I think in this next chapter of the creator economy, we have to be thinking about high quality audience, which means hyper specific, hyper engaged. That then allows you to turn to a brand and say, this is my audience. I am selling you access to them. It is valuable because you are trying to reach these people too. So a great exercise would be to write down a list of brands that you find to be mission aligned with you. What's your mission, right? What's the value that you provide to your audience? For us, we educate and empower creators. So we get to write a list of every brand that does that, and then we call them and say, hey, look, we are doing this, which is exactly your mission. Do you want access to our audience? The last thing I'll say is that credibility is a scarce resource. You should not take every deal that comes into your inbox. It only takes one deal to lose your trust with the audience. So you have to build yourself in a way where monetization is very important, but that you have enough room to make the right decisions along the way. So if that means don't go full time yet, don't go full time. Keep your day job, keep creating, move a little bit slower, take the right deals. Because if you just take every deal, then you're not gonna have a long career.
So both of you spoke about brands. Is that the primary source of income? If you have less than 1 million followers and you're building up, how should we think about ads? And certainly I'm still here doing a startup that's focused on bringing direct commerce to creators. Actually, we have one of the amazing creators, Jordana, out there. So please check out her products if you already haven't. So how should people think about the different sources of revenue?
Everything comes back to your audience. What is your audience interested in, right? If you're like us and you focus on education, is your audience asking for more education? Are they interested in that? Are they willing to spend on something like that? Are they asking for a membership? Are they looking to identify as a part of your community? That could be merchandise. But you have to think about the right product for your audience. And if it is advertising, and if you have the right format for advertising, that is by far right now the #1 source of revenue for all creators. But it's not to say that there's certain creators that we know that primarily make their money through a membership and have 50,000 subscribers, or make their money through merchandise.
Yeah, what kind of numbers are we talking about here, Dennis? I mean, like, are we talking 10,000, 100,000, a million? Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, I would turn to everything he's talking about, where it's like if you have 1,000 people with an average income of $1 million, you have a very different value proposition and product that you can sell than 1 million people with an average income of $50,000. Very different audience.
All right, that was still a generic answer. So let's try to get to some specifics. Maybe, pick a brand deal, and what should people expect if, what Samsung, for example, is one of the first deals that they talk about for Column. So what was the nature? What did they want from you? Anything that you can share in terms of sizing, or pick any other example that you can share?
Yeah, so there's a couple different reasons why a brand wants to work with you, right? The #1, with a brand like Samsung, is going to be awareness and association. So if you've built a brand where, even just by mere association, you're bringing enough awareness to a certain target audience. So for us with Samsung, it was, hey, can we approach the next generation of creators and show them how our phones are great creation tools? Where do we turn? We turn to the people who are educating the next generation of creators.
Great example.
Right? So that is like mission alignment. It's right there, and then it's easy to slot them into your format.
Amazing. How should one go about finding the right brand?
I think in my case, it comes down to what I was saying before, is who are you targeting, why, and then if brands really understand who your target audience is, and if you can communicate that to brands, then you're going to have a much better chance at being able to get the right sponsorship deal that you want. For example, the case of MyTechSEO, this is a brand new account. I started building this only a couple months ago. I want to say 3 months ago. And I've already started to get a lot of interest from VC funds, accelerators, incubators. Why? Because all the people that follow me on the MyTechSEO account, which is tech, satire, are mainly founders who are building products. And who do VC funds want to invest in? Smart founders. And they're recognizing that with that audience, we can then if we can even just create a video that gets 500,000 views, even 100,000 views, there's got to be a good conversion on a lot of those founders checking out what we're doing, what we're about as a VC fund, for example.
Great. We will slightly shift from monetization to ask just a couple of overall questions on one for you. Viral content. You speak about creating viral content. What makes the difference in terms of production and the content of a video that gets 1 million views versus 10 million versus 100 million?
It's a great question.
Does anyone want to create viral content? Anyone? Yeah? All right, how do we do it? What's the formula?
I think that I have a couple things to say. So number one is you want to create viral content, but you also need to create niche content. Why? Because if you try to create too viral content, you're appealing too much to the masses and your content can get lost. You get lost in the ideation process. Sometimes creators are going to have a hard time actually putting out content because they're too mainstream. Now, Mr. Beast can create viral content, mainstream content, because he has such a massive audience already. But if you're getting started, start with niche content, and then you'll realize slowly as you're doing more niche content, this also appeals with other people. So for example, in my account is targeting tech founders. Most people would think, who wants to watch a pretentious tech CEO talk? Now, tech founders do, but do other people who are not interested in tech want to? Not necessarily, but I've realized that there's still potential to create viral content around this tech CEO character, and that's about thinking slightly below the script, not going too in depth into things, not being too technical, etc. So if that answers your question.
Awesome. So you have interviewed so many amazing creators, and you're an amazing creator yourself. What do you think, as you think about all of that content, the top 3 characteristics that defines successful creators?
Yeah, I'll answer that, but I also want to just zoom out and say we're talking a lot about monetization. That's only one part of the equation of why being a creator is interesting. And I think one thing that sometimes we miss as creators is we don't write down what we want the outcome of this career to be. And with some of that can kind of lead you down a path to just chasing numbers on a screen, whether that's money or viewership. And if that's the game, it's never ending, and it's kind
and so what's that for you?
It can kind of get uninteresting if you're doing that. So I would say there's 2 outcomes that you're looking for. One is like a lifestyle outcome, which is arguably more important. The majority of my life is spent in a studio working on videos, and that's what I want the majority of my life to look like. And that is one of the rewards of making it, quote unquote, as a creator, is getting to do that work. The other side is financial, and that is also, exciting and interesting. That is why we're doing this. So I just would urge everybody to take pen to paper and say, what does it look like for me to make it? What does my life look like if I've made it? What do I want the money for? Because otherwise it can get a little bit confusing. The top 3 characteristics amongst top tier creators, I would say number 1 is focus. It's very easy to lose focus in this career. You get a little bit of traction, and then you get a lot of opportunities, and you start taking them, you lose focus on making videos. So number 1 is focus. Number 2 is that lifestyle. It's the people who actually enjoy creating. Marquez Brownlee said it to us similar to the basketball player who enjoys shooting hoops for practice. They're the best basketball players. They actually enjoy that. So if you ever find yourself not enjoying the video making process, you're probably not going to make it. Those 2 things are my top 2 characteristics.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So we are going to open up for a couple of audience questions. So questions for this incredible duo on stage. What do we have? How do you build an empire? All right, a question back there. And if you could introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Peter. When you think about growing versus monetization, so at what point do you think I should start making money versus I want to go online and things like this?
What do you do?
I work on creator tooling, but as a creator, I was curious on what's a good point or ballpark now of when to go ahead and monetize.
Yeah, to me that's incredibly case by case. Again, it depends on the audience. It depends on what you're doing. I would say though, if you don't really have a regular returning audience, I would not monetize. Right? If you're just reaching a brand new audience with every single one, there's a couple different ways to gauge connection. And if you have a depth of connection with your audience, right? Look at it through engagement. If you're on YouTube, you can look at a lot more statistics than any other platform. But if you don't have a regular community, I wouldn't get into monetization yet. I think you have a lot of work to do if you're not there.
I'll add to that I think it definitely depends. It is a case-by-case basis. It depends on your goal. I think people who want to grow the fastest need to think less about monetization and need to think more about what can I do just to put more content out and not limit myself to monetization. Because monetization, sure, it sounds sexy saying, hey, I can make X amount of money per video, but it loses focus on the growth. So I always respect creators who are able to, say no to shiny object syndrome and saying yes to nice deals and just focus on more content. And then when they find the opportunity, being, okay, I'm gonna focus on finding the right sponsorship deals. And also being very selective about which ones you want to get involved with.
All right. Last question for.
Hey, my name is Kaivan. Question that I have is, what was the hardest
We gotta get him a mic, right? I cannot hear you.
Okay. What was the hardest point on your journey as you're looking back here from now?
That's a good question. I think the hardest point was, creating while nobody's watching. I think that actually is really hard. There's a point where you really love it, but when you go on years making stuff and feel like you love this platform, you love this industry, you love YouTube, and you feel like it doesn't love you back, that's like a very, very hard pill to swallow for 5 years. But what I think would be even harder is actually, abandoning it for good, which is why we didn't do it. But that does get hard, and I think you need community to work yourself through some of that. It takes a really long time to make it in this career, and I think that can get exhausting.
And so, a quick follow-up. Let's say you find the audience resonating with content that's not necessarily your top passion area of what you really want to spend time on. What would you do?
Change course, make the stuff you want to make. Because if you don't success in this industry is just the opportunity to do more of what you're already doing. If you have a video go viral, it only matters if you want to make that video again. It's actually the worst thing if you have a video go viral that you don't want to make again, right?
Okay. And your advice?
I'd say that for TikTok and Instagram, you have to focus on what works. You can't swallow a pill and put out TikTok content for 2 years and expect it to do really well. The truth is that TikTok rewards content that's moving in the right direction. Sometimes the algorithm is weird, but it does. And so you have to find, and you have to be relentless about finding that initial content. Once you have one video go viral, or the best is when you have 3 videos go viral, then you have a good sense of, here's what works. Now, how do I make what works tie into exactly what I want to do? And sometimes it'll be spot on, but sometimes it won't. And so in my case, I think to myself, okay, for some reason the internet loves a tech CEO, loves a pretentious tech CEO. Now, how do I tie this into maybe introducing interesting insights about tech, or introducing things that I'm curious about into that content? And then it comes to experiment, and then you're experimenting with the algorithm and seeing, does it still like this content?
Awesome. Samir, it's great to have you back in East LA where it all started. And Jason, excited to listen to you and to catch you at this moment of transition. All the very best of MyTech CEO. Can't wait to see your next episodes. With that, let's give it up
Thank you.
for
Thank you, guys.
Samir and for Jason.
Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, Cass, what time is it?
We're going on